Welcome back to episode 3. We're going to start off today's episode by speaking to a freshman at NC State who's a business major. What is it like to have to move away from home as a freshman and try to create a life of your own on campus and having to move back so suddenly?
I would say moving back home after everything that's happened was really hard. Going to college was like a big change in environment for me, but I think I was able to adapt pretty well to the dorm lifestyle and like doing my own laundry, eating at the dining hall, stuff like that. I enjoyed the freedom and being able to meet new people. So when I found out I'd have to leave everything, I got really upset. After me and my mom moved my stuff out, I kind of got emotional and like frustrated just because I knew I'd be spending the next 5 months at home away from school.
Obviously, my spring break was at the same time as yours, so we did leave thinking that we were coming back. So I didn't have any of my stuff packed, like I never said bye to anybody. So what is it like leaving those friends that might live in a different state or places where you won't be able to see them until school starts back up again?
Yeah, it was really weird. I was on spring break when we found out, and so everyone was kind of freaking out, which kind of ruined the idea of spring break and like just relaxing. But it's hard. I made friends in classes, and like obviously we connected over social media, but it's not like I'm just some of the people I barely knew, so I'm not going to reach out to them. I have like my roommate and my friends that we talk, on the phone, over FaceTime, whatever. But it's definitely been hard, and I really wish that I was back at school.
What is it like doing classes online? I know a lot of universities are using Zoom. For me, something I'm struggling with is having to find a space where I feel like I'm still at school and not just in my bedroom. So how is it like doing classes for you?
It's definitely been challenging, not just because I'm trying to figure out how to work Zoom and all these other, applications, but I kind of have a lack of motivation because when I was in college, going home now is like chill and be with my family, and now I have to figure out how do I, what you said, like figure out how do I make a space where I actually feel like I'm back at school and I can actually work on schoolwork. But dealing with Zoom has been hard, and just figuring out how to organize my time because all the teachers that I've had basically have given me a bunch of assignments that are due at the end of the week or whatever, and so I have to organize like what day I'm going to work on what and try and get everything done without feeling super stressed out.
And are there any classes that you feel like you can't do online, like you're losing some type of benefit from not having a face-to-face interaction?
Say Spanish, just because part of that is speaking the language and learning how to pronounce everything and create sentences and focus on sentence structure. So for Spanish, it's definitely been challenging, and I think my teacher has done a good job so far of trying to keep us speaking at home. I have like a Spanish partner that I have to talk to 3 times a week, and we have to like record ourselves speaking. But that's definitely a class that should be in the classroom.
How has this affected your school spirit? You're obviously having to come back home. You're not going to the events or seeing everybody wearing NC State shirts with pride. So do you feel like it's maybe strengthened your goal with the pack of having to feel like you are one unit and you are one school coming together, or do you feel like it's distancing you?
I think right now it's definitely distancing just because freshman year is so important to like start getting involved in school activities and meeting new people. And I know a lot of people, like my roommate was rushing the business fraternity, and that kind of all got canceled, and that was something that she was really excited about really getting into. And I think like the same for me, there was a lot of stuff that I was getting into, and then it kind of all just got cut short. But I think that will help motivate me next semester or next year to get even more involved and really like not take anything for granted when it comes to college and the college experience.
What do you think our generation can do to help, as we obviously have a voice on social media, and I think a big part of that is the fear of the term FOMO, or fear of missing out, and they want to go hang out with their friends and they want to post pictures. So what would you tell our generation, because I think that we are a big determining factor in this?
Yeah, I think initially it was hard because a lot of people our age have this mentality that it doesn't matter if they get the virus, because in most cases for our age, like, we don't have a lot of symptoms. So I've seen people hanging out with their friends and stuff, and I didn't want to do that just because I was worried if I got the virus, I would give it to someone in my family or somebody older than me. They could actually, like, have to put in, like, a lot of effort. Like, their body would have to really fight off the virus. So I think that we need to stay home at least until they tell us that it's okay not to. I know Wake County just put out the rule that everyone needs to try and stay in their houses, and I think that's what a lot of people have been doing. But I'd say we're all in it together, and there's no FOMO because we're not doing anything, and think that we, like you said, we have a big role in this, and that even though it does suck, it's better than hurting our loved ones or, you know, older people.
And do you have any final remarks on anything that you would like to say about school or helping out?
I would just say that it's not fun right now, but there are a lot of people who are hurting more than us. A lot of people have lost their jobs and are trying to figure out how they're going to even pay for next month's bills, feed their family. So I think that we have a lot to be grateful for as college students, and that our colleges, you know, care about us enough to send us home and try and keep us safe. Go Pack!
Okay, so I'm talking to another student who's actually a freshman at NC State as well, but her major is a little bit different because she's actually a fashion major, so a lot of her classes require labs and in-person physically doing a task like sewing. What is it like having to move away from home and trying to be on your own and create a name for yourself at college and having to move back so soon?
I think it's really hard, especially with my major. It's so small, so we really got really connected very quickly, and it really helped me, honestly, just with my schoolwork and my schedule. And now moving back, I just feel like I'm really not coordinated with school at all and don't really understand what to do at this point.
Touching back on having such a small major, Meredith and State both found out that we weren't coming back to school during spring break. So what is it like not having to have that proper goodbye to maybe a friend who doesn't live in the state or someone who you thought that you would be seeing in a week?
I mean, it's definitely really sad, especially because, again, of my major, I was seeing those people every single day, and now I'm just not seeing them at all. So it's definitely really hard. I mean, we've been keeping in touch, but it's just not the same, obviously. And now with all, the lockdown stuff going on, it's even harder because it's not like I can go visit anyone or anything like that.
Now, touching on the more school side of it, what is it like doing Zoom classes? I know that's what a lot of schools are using.
I mean, the Zoom classes are definitely really helpful, but I feel like, this was the first week we were doing it, and I felt like almost the whole focus was figuring out how to use it instead of actually focusing on classwork necessarily. And I think for my classes specifically, it's a little difficult because in person we would be meeting about, critiquing each other's work and stuff, and now it's just kind of just going through PowerPoints, which is just really not the same type of situation.
And are you having any other challenges with Zoom? I was talking about with the other student earlier how I am having a trouble with separating my desk in my room from just being my room and having this be like a workspace.
I definitely think since coming home, especially since, moving back is really hard and I'm still in the unpacking process, that making a space in my room is really difficult. And every time a class comes on, it's almost like I don't feel like it's really class. I mean, every time it's a set time and day, but it still just doesn't feel the same because you're not face-to-face with these people.
Mm-hmm. Especially with your major, are there any classes that you feel like you can't do online? I know a lot of them are, like I said, physical, as in you have to sew something or you have to be cutting out different patterns.
Yeah, so my classes that are definitely a lot more difficult are studio, which is fashion textile design studio, and my sewing lab. So both of those are obviously really supposed to be in-person classes and can't really be transferred. And I know my professors are doing their absolute best to do what they can. But, for studio, I'm dealing with completely changing our dynamic of our project because most people don't have the same materials that we were provided at school, as well as my sewing lab. I mean, the whole focus of it was sewing on these industrial machines. And now nobody owns their own industrial machine at home, so it's really difficult to maneuver that and figure out what we're going to do because the class is still running. It hasn't ended, but we're going to have to start working with software, which is it's just a completely different dynamic than it should be.
Like an online computer-generated software?
Yes, that just kind of works with cutting out patterns, which is a very important part of my major, but it's also that's not necessarily what the class dynamic was supposed to be. It's just kind of like altering it up. Those classes have been altered so much because of this move, and they're just not at all would be the same.
Mm-hmm. Do you possibly wish that you could retake the class if it was in person?
I definitely think I would consider it just because state has such amazing resources for textile students, and I'm really sad about my last project. I was supposed to be able to use their digital printing system to print my own fabric, which is obviously a really unique thing. You can't just go out and do that, and obviously using these amazing high-class sewing machines is also really unique to the school, so it's really hard because I would definitely want to still go back and learn and have this technology, but it's also like I have learned most of the principles through the class, but I just didn't get to do the actual physical work yet.
You didn't get to do it yourself?
Yes.
With leaving so suddenly, do you feel like you've lost school spirit, or have you gained more school spirit, or just neutral?
It's definitely in the middle. I think I had somewhat of a hard freshman year, so I think at first I was kind of excited to come home for a little bit, but then I realized how much I actually missed school and missed walking around campus and, miss going to all the school events. I think it's kind of in between. Like, there was a bit of relief, but then it was followed by actually realizing how much I appreciate the school and how much I'm going to miss every part of it.
And how do you think that our generation can help? When I talked to the other state student earlier, we talked about how people are so afraid that they're going to miss out on something, and that's something that is very true, is this FOMO. And do you think that people our age are just so scared to not go to a party or not be seen somewhere that they're risking maybe possibly their lives and of family members by going out?
I definitely think for sure. I think, I can even say myself that maybe I haven't been as careful as I should be, but I do know plenty of people who are just completely disregarding, like they just think this is a complete vacation and they can do whatever they want. But, I think our generation should show that this is serious, and this is something that no one has ever lived through that we know. It's a really difficult situation to go through, and we have to take it seriously because we don't want to risk the lives of other people. And I just think the best thing our generation can do is become role models of listening to what officials are saying and respecting the fact that this is a serious case and this isn't just, we're all going home for no reason. There's a reason, and we should respect the choices that the government has made and respect their wishes of trying to distance ourselves.
And fashion is something that you're not just pursuing at school. You're also very heavily involved with it at your home life. Your mom owns a store in downtown Apex. What is the name of her store, and how is she dealing with all of this?
So the name of her store is Sophie Mollies Boutique. And it has been very difficult because obviously, this time is a really hard time for people. People don't know whether or not they want to buy clothes or buy accessories just because they don't know when all of this is going to end, and they don't want to just spend their money and be like, I have all this stuff now. And so I think they've been definitely struggling with that just because they've had to close down the store, obviously, for health reasons. But, even online it can be difficult just because people just don't know when this is all going to be over and don't want to spend their money on things they can't go out and wear.
Even though that this is a difficult time, what is your mom doing to try to help the community, although she may be struggling herself?
So she has been trying to link up with several organizations that are helping donate to families in need during this time. So she has just talked to Western Wake Ministries, and she's trying to set up some type of deal where when someone purchases something off the website, I'm not sure of the exact percentage, but a percentage of the sale will go towards Western Weight Ministries. And she's also been donating food and stuff like that.
And Western Wake Crisis Ministry is actually something that we talked about with the mayor earlier today as somewhere where you can go if you do need help. So that is a great organization.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, and just to commend you and all of the other students, and along with your mom, for being so flexible and courteous in this time of need to their community.
Thank you.
I'm currently here with a high school senior from Wake County right now. And have you heard anything about school? So are you doing any online classes? Have you heard if you're coming back yet?
So they just found a statement today that made the seniors, if you were passing your classes on March 13th, it turned them, for us seniors, to a pass-fail situation. And so those that, if you aren't passing at time, you still have chances to get your grade up and to make it so that you are passing. But as far as I've been told, it's kind of just online school for the seniors is kind of up in the air as to what they're going to do.
So have you gotten any information from your current teachers on if you will be having classes or any assignments online to try to raise up your grades?
So they have been posting stuff online and communicating with us, saying how there's still opportunities. Some of the work that we were doing in class before we left is still able to be done without teaching new materials. So we're working on those and making sure everything's caught up.
And is there any class that you feel like even if you are able to do work for it, it has to be an in-person kind of class?
So I'm currently enrolled in our student news, I guess you could say, class, and there's really not much for us to do because we can't make an episode or produce news when we're at home, and all the stuff that happens that we talk about happens in school.
Mm-hmm. As for that class, do you think that it's just over?
I believe it probably is. I mean, we have work that we can do on, besides what we produce in the episodes that we do work on that we can still continue to do. But the whole, reporting to the school and providing them with news and entertainment is pretty much over.
Mm-hmm. What is it like not being able to spend this very crucial time at the end of your senior year with friends that you've built all through high school, or maybe just new friends that will be going to school next year out of state or maybe even studying abroad?
It kind of just hurts because you never really, knew walking out of the school one day that this would be probably your last day ever stepping foot in the building and seeing all your friends together. So I'm kind of just, communicating online and waiting for us to be able to reunite in person without having to be under strict, quarantine.
Is there any events, obviously being a senior, and as I was a senior last year, it is very important, and it is an emotional year, especially if you've been with these other students for a long time. Are there any events like graduation that any updates with that, or prom, if it's been postponed, if it's been canceled?
We have postponed our prom now until the beginning of June instead of the beginning of May, which is upsetting, but I'm glad that they haven't fully canceled it. But it's more not so about the event, it's more just seeing my friends. I never knew that would be the last time, till who knows when that I'll see them. So, and then when graduation comes, I'm just hoping that they can make something work and we still get a traditional graduation, even though this year hasn't been any traditional or any standard by any chance.
And what about school spirit? Do you think that this is a time where you feel like you're all rallying together, or is it kind of fizzling out?
It's one of those, I'll always love my high school and everything about it. It's just one of those that you know that everyone, no matter what school you go to, is facing the same thing, so why give up completely now?
What about going into college the next year? Do you have any friends that, how we were talking about earlier, that you might not see again, that you're still waiting back from college decisions, or how do you think that this will affect the new freshman incoming class?
It's definitely hard at least for admissions processes, because you have no now opportunity to pull your grades up, show that you graduated with these mandatory classes that they wanted and show how good you did. But then I do think that they understand that everyone is facing the same issue. It's not just us, so that they are going to make a bit of an exception. But it just isn't overall a good situation to be in, especially at this time of year in senior year.
And how do you think that our generation can help? So I talked to a couple students that actually are at state earlier, and we talked about how this generation has a big voice, and a big problem that we have is social media, because no one wants to be left out of the party. So what kind of words or thoughts do you have on that?
I mean, as much as you want to see your friends and be with them because you aren't with them at school, your best bet, honestly, is just to stay in, watch yourselves, take precautions. I mean, you could still communicate over the phone. It's not nearly as fun, but you'd rather be able to do that and go out and be able to see them in the future than not be able to see them at all, because who knows what this virus holds.
And do you have any other final thoughts on being a senior right now or the virus in general?
I think people just have to learn to take it seriously, and that there are more than one person that are affected, and just because it may not be personally affecting you doesn't mean that you're free from any risk or anything. Just take your precautions and do what you're told. Just don't be stupid about it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Join me next time as I speak with one of my professors from Meredith College on how he is dealing with teaching at home.